Hey there, almost a couple minutes, seconds late. Welcome to Streaming Consciousness. I'm Carlton Pearson, and I have some really personal admonishments and observations and discussions that I'd like to have with you tonight. And thank you for tuning in if this is at night or later on in the archived lectures. I love talking to you. I love being with you. I love feeling the energy that I imagine is there and that I experience as being there also. Charles Holt. I love this song, obviously. So many of you do. Tapping, stretching, expanding, extending, going to the next level, the next dimension. I was always fascinated with the passage in Scripture that says, where Jesus is quoted to have said, "In my Father's house there are many mansions." The word actually suggests in Greek there are many dimensions. In my Father's house or household or in the things of God, there are many levels of expression, many spheres and floors and apartments or compartments, all in the same house. I often say that we're not just multi-dimensional beings, we are interdimensional beings. We can go from one floor to another at any given time. Some people go to another floor permanently. We call it death or transition. We don't see them in the physical anymore. That's happening, and it'll happen. There'll be a rash of them that'll go out between now and the end of the year. That happens every year. Many of you are dealing with issues right now with somebody that you didn't expect to go or that you did expect to go and who didn't or hasn't yet, and others that you didn't expect to go who have already made their transition. This is life, and life is becoming increasingly interesting to me. The older I get, I should be a lot more settled, and I think I am settled with the past. But I'm very curious about the present and the future. And I relate to the past only in that it has brought me this far, and I've learned a lot from it and continue to reflect on those things I learned. But right now in America and in the world, everybody is sensing a little bit of awkwardness, and because the things that seem to be pillars of the past, the staples and stables, are gone. My age group, and I'm 61, are confronting and facing the fact that our parents are either gone or they're going. My dad's 88, my mom's 84. I talk to them every single day. My godmother, who's been the other staple in my life, is 90. She could go anytime. Many of the others, uncles, aunts, most of them are gone. I have one aunt left in California named Dell. She's 80. I'm my Aunt Dell. She was married to my dad's brother, Uncle Gibby. She's like the matriarch of that side of the family. And, the Oral Roberts' Billy Graham, was in his 90s, and we don't know how much. He's not that active. You don't vocally or attitude. You don't hear from him and very little about him. That's from the faith community. But then there's just a whole situation. I want to quote James Kavanaugh, and I posted something with this quote on it today. James Kavanaugh was an ordained and actively ministered for 10 years. He was ordained and actively membered for 10 years in the Catholic Church as a priest, and then he later went to Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and was working on a PhD. He wrote an article for the Saturday Evening Post titled, "I'm a Priest and I Want to Marry." This is back in 1967. I'm a priest, Catholic priest, Roman Catholic priest, and I want to marry. Well, the article questioned the practice of celibacy within the Catholic Church among priests, and the year, as I said, was 67, the height of the sexual revolution. I remember those days. I was in high school. Anyway, the article was received with such commotion and actual outrage, that the secret would not be kept for long. So people started talking about it. And then Mr. Kavanaugh just launched onto and exploded onto the American scene with another book titled "A Modern Priest Looks at His Outdated Church." Can you imagine the courage? He kind of reminds me of me in my day as a classical Pentecostal fourth generation preacher involved and ensconced within the fundamentalist Pentecostal Protestant community worldwide for the first several years of my life, 50 years of my life, and I'm now 10 years out of that as being a recognized, wanted entity. I'm New Thought new ways of thinking, expanded consciousness, all these kinds of people are leery of them. That's New Age. Most folks don't even know what New Age means. They think it's candles and crystals, and it might involve a little bit of that, but we've had candles and crystals within the culture for years. Incantations, invocations, provocations, invitations, rituals and religion, and candles and robes, investments, and music and sounds. All the religions have that. Dances and rites and rules and rigors. But we want to sort of label something we don't quite understand with a title that makes it frightening. And some of it's just foolishness. A lot of it's just innocence and ignorance, and you could hardly find innocence without ignorance around it. They're like twin brothers and sisters. Anyway, Mr. Kavanaugh's writings created quite a stir and continues to as more Catholics are open and eager to see the church expand beyond its centuries-long dogmas and stigmas. So the challenge and charge is to change, and it remains incumbent upon this modern generation today as well as it was on preceding generations. So let me give you the quote, which I've told you about the person before I quoted him. "I have no master plan for the religious reconstruction of the world," he writes, "only a boundless confidence that the man who abandons, or person who abandons his religious myth and is free from his idols will discover God, with a little g, in the growing honesty and freedom of his own life." Let me quote it again because it's a mouthful. Mr. Kavanaugh, Father Kavanaugh, would have said, "I have no master plan for the religious reconstruction of the world. Only a boundless confidence that the person who abandons his or her religious myth and is free from his or her idols," I'm adding the her part, "will discover God in the growing honesty and freedom of his own life." I can stop right there and say, what is that? What is the growing honesty and freedom of your life? Is there not just honesty, but growing and expanding honesty and freedom of your life? Can you put your finger on it? Can you identify growing honesty associated immediately and inextricably to freedom? Not just honesty, but freedom. There are a lot of honest people who don't embrace it and they're not free. This is honesty and freedom for your own life. What does that mean? How does it express itself? So I want you to keep that in mind as I talk about the restlessness and the trust factors in our modern culture. People are in a sort of a obscure in-between seasons place. I'm actually standing tonight because sitting is uncomfortable for me. I just had a procedure about a week ago, and I'm accepting the fact that I'm 61 years old. I've lived a good, full, interesting, exciting life. The last 10 years have been even more interesting to me because I've shifted and moved away from a lot of the comfort zones. And I've gone through this radical change, and I'm still going through it, and it's becoming more fun every day. I'm intrigued with the possibilities of what is still to come or become in me. I was bored for many, many years. Successful but bored. Successfully bored. Productively bored. Well-loved and admired, but bored. And nothing is more frightening and intimidating, in my opinion, than for a person to be bored with what they do and who they are becoming or aren't becoming. For years, I was looking at this other person that was expanding, and I was afraid of him. I was afraid to even acknowledge him. I was fasting and praying and studying and reading and preaching and traveling and doing all the things I've done for the last 45, 50 years, and bored with it. I'm not denouncing it. I'm not denying it. It just wasn't. It was serving a purpose for the people, but not me. It's like a chef, cooking wonderful meals that people stand in line to eat, but he doesn't enjoy his food or any food. He eats, but he doesn't enjoy it. He's not fascinated with his productions. So that's traumatic. It can be. There's many ministers and other professionals who are bored with their lives and what they do, even though they're experts at it, very good at it. And it seems, I posted this today, that every institution once regarded as legal, respectful, honest, ethical, and operating in integrity, today is presently under assault for deviations, violations, and perpetrations of crimes, connivings, conspiracies that breed distrust, suspicion, and varying levels of ambiguity. People are confused. The major institutions, from religion to politics to education, it's like the culture, the people don't know who to respect or to who to trust. This includes religion, politics, science, education, economy, law enforcement, government, and many others, including people and personalities. You hear it every day. The CIA, while sworn to acting in secrecy, has proven to be frighteningly deceptive, not only to the American people, but to and from the American Congress, all the way up to the president of the White House. The leaders of our country and culture are not necessarily the leaders. They don't know what some of the most poignant and important and impacting things that happen are happening, and they don't have a consent. So, and largely because of 9/11, the country is still traumatized. There's post-traumatic syndrome that we're experiencing subtly. We lost trust and confidence in the government. First, in the possibility that the trade towers standing 160 stories tall, hundreds of feet into the air, could be assaulted. No bomb dropped, no bullet fired, but they came down right in front of us, because I watched it live right here in Tulsa when it was happening in New York. That the Pentagon, which represented the military strength of the country, was attacked. 3 airplanes went down. Some people are not even sure that it was outside terrorism. They're suspicious as to whether it was inside terrorism. So they not only are suspicious and distrustful about the strength of the government to protect itself, but the strength of the government against itself. If there's some subtle conspiracy within the government with which we should be, and for which we should be concerned, of which we should be concerned. And that grew today with this whole exposure of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. The information, and they're everywhere. It's like a mobster group. It's scary that they can pull the wool over the eyes of both houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate and the White House, that the president doesn't necessarily know everything that's going on. And of course, when you're only in there for 4 years or 8, there's no way to know everything that has been happening or that's going to happen. They expose the presidents to whatever they expose them to. But you can't stay in there past 8 years. And there's no way that in 8 or 4 years you can really be on top of stuff, because you're being pulled not just in but from every direction. And billions of dollars have been spent to become the president, or even a senator these days, or governor. It's like running for a political office. So all of that is a part of this restlessness, this insecurity. It's now verifiable in public knowledge with the recent disclosure of classified information on torture tactics used on prisoners of war. It sounds like a kind of, if you hear what they did, it's like some kind of hideous, sadistic indulgence in sensual pleasures, that these people, some of them, actually enjoyed waterboarding and torturing and having people stripped nude and stand for hours, and the kinds of things they say happen. In fact, I don't even know why they are divulging some of the details, and of course I just did some myself. It's scary. The horrible things that humans can do to other human beings is stunning. We've lost respect for human character, for human consciousness, for religious leaders. Who'd have ever made such an abstract connection of sadistic debauchery and war or military enforcement? It's stunning. Plus the police system now. We're questioning law enforcement agencies and law enforcement agents. There's demonstration all across the country. And I grew up in a generation, and I said I'm 61, baby boomer. We had a lot of confidence and respect for the flag and the Star Spangled Banner and religion and school teachers and police officers. These are the most highly regarded ministers, school teachers, and law enforcement officers or military people were the most highly respected politicians too. We were not as suspicious 50, 60 years ago as we are today. You hardly can find a politician that's trustworthy. There are some, of course, but in general, the institution itself, the houses of Congress, are questionable. One of the lowest approval ratings of any Congress is today. It's like people are not even voting anymore because they just think it's all a racket. Now, why am I bringing that out? Because there's this issue of distrust, and distrust leads to vigilantism, a lot more civil disobedience. People started getting defensive. They start buying guns. They want to protect themselves. Can you imagine that? I heard a young African-American police officer saying on CNN today that he's afraid to leave his house. He leaves his house with his weapons because he is suspicious that somebody may shoot him down. This is a police officer, because the police officers have now become the portrayal as public enemy number one. We don't trust them. Not just blacks or African Americans or ethnic Americans, but all Americans. A lot of white people get shot and mistreated in the prisons and in the penal system, in the social justice. That's not the term I want to use. How we handle justice in this country is very questionable. The prudence of the institution, the judges, the lawyers, or liars. Sometimes I was taught that as a kid. I know that's not true. I have some attorney friends who are very brilliant and honest. But there's this whole picture that is making us uncomfortable with the culture as we've known it. So whether we like it or not, we are now, as a public, having to face the fact that there is a definite distance between the images of a sweet, smart, fatherly Dr. Huxtable in contrast to the possible sexual abuse allegedly associated with Dr. Bill Cosby. And Dr. Huxtable and Dr. Cosby were one and the same. He's a humorist and a comedian. He's fatherly, he's wise, he's rich, he's powerful, he's influential and affluential. And now, in front of our eyes, he's dissolving with all these allegations of prominent women, some more known than others. Recently, I think it's Beverly Johnson, the model, came out today that she was sexually abused and drugged by Bill Cosby. It's just unconscionable. It's like, I don't want to hear any more. First, we don't trust politicians, and preachers have been under the scrutiny for years, from the Elmer Gantry image from way in the past to present scandals within preachers and bishops and leaders and moralists, supposedly. And it's all hitting at once. This generation succeeding us, don't know what to trust or if to trust. Will we be able to separate or even acknowledge such contrasting possibilities between a Dr. Huxtable and a Dr. Cosby or Bill Cosby? There is a there is a reality on the other side of what many people have considered or imagined or hoped to be true or truth for decades. I'm going to say it again. There is a reality on the other side of what many people have considered true or truth, whether that's religion or politics. People are disappointed. You know, the older you get, the more you recognize or realize that your parents were kids or did some dumb stuff, and that the generations preceding you, with whom you place great confidence, didn't know what they were doing to the degree that you think they did or thought they did as a child. You just have to accept that, and neither did you. The older we get, or you get, the more I realize, as well-intentioned as I may have been, I made some really grave errors over the years. What I mean by errors is I'm okay, but there are judgments and decisions and choices that I made that were great teachers to me, but they were painful lessons and poignant lessons, and they didn't just affect me, they affected other people. That's an interesting observation right now. again, you hear me ask all the time, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? How do those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of your life? On the other side of the fear that many have of truth, there is a fresh, new, and powerful freedom that will reframe your entire inner world of being. On the other side of the fear that some people have of truth. We're at a place where we can't just look away and deny it. It's so in your face. It's so in your face, and you cannot trust that what's in your face is always accurate or properly interpreted. Because the media can put anything on there and run it hundreds of times. You get a certain image. And most people don't stop long enough to get the full explanation of what they're seeing. And even if you listen to it, it's like tabloid television. The news has become like tabloid television. The reason the tabloid magazines, and there are new ones coming up every day and more at the checkout counter at the grocery stores, you see all these tabloid with these stunning, headlines that makes you want to pick it up and read it. I never touched that stuff, haven't for years, because I don't trust it. I'm not able to pick up something in there and read about myself. I just don't trust it anymore. I don't trust the institution itself. Yet these are the people that are licensed to communicate either innuendo, suggestions, occasionally facts, or mix facts with innuendo and suggestions. And you read it as if it's all truth. The masses of people still believe what they read, even on the internet. You can get on the internet and say anything. When I went to Wikipedia some time ago and saw I don't know who put me in there and what they said. Some of it's accurate, some of it's inaccurate. And then it says, and people read it as the golden rule, as died in stone, that what they read in Wikipedia about somebody is actual and factual. A lot of it isn't. Some of it is, but there's enough truth to qualify the lie. There's enough truth to qualify or dignify the deception. So people are confused. But you read it, and then it says this is up for editing. If you know something else about this person or this idea in the thesaurus or the dictionary or whatever, let us know. Well, you don't even know how to do that. It's crazy. Here again is another example of the idea that we're not so much in trouble as we are in transition. And ultimately, it's all good. But we're having to reframe. And I'm offering a little guidance. I don't have answers to every question I ask. I do have responses to the queries that are out there, and the questions and the inquest and conquest and request. They're all out there, and huge change has come. Huge change has come. We must trust the process that leads us to progress. It may seem crazy and confusing. Trust the process. I have to trust the process of my own healing. I made reference some weeks ago to scar tissue that I'm dealing with for treatment that I had over 10 years ago. I'm cured. I'm cancer-free. But there's scar tissue. So there's corrective and reconstructive surgery that I've had to go through. I'm not diseased or sick. It's just that I had to fix some things, have them fixed in my body. It's stunning. I'm not a hospital person, taking meds and stopping by for, the older you get. And I was I guess I was pretty cocky because I'm the healing evangelist, the man of faith and power, in and out of hospitals, praying for the people. In Tulsa, they know me. And so I was associated with Oral Roberts for years. And when I go into a hospital, and that still happens to a certain extent today, people, because I had a church of thousands of people, and I had many people, thousands, hundreds of thousands who live in the Tulsa area, and millions by way of television knew me by name and or face, or just by voice. So if I came into a public place, somebody's liable to notice me, and still today that's the case, particularly here in Tulsa. They would ask me to go pray for them and run. So I'd spend hours in the hospital. I planned it. If I went to visit somebody close to me, a relative or a close friend or a staff person or a staff person's relative, I always got these requests to go, and I would go, and I'd end up being in there for hours. I just knew I was, because it's hard for me to say no to somebody that asks for something as gentle and sweet as a prayer. But now, of late, in the last little bit, it's been several times when I was the patient. I remember one time I had to be rolled in an airport. I had some surgery on my feet about 30 years ago, one of my feet. And then one time I had a back to go out. Twice I had to be taken in a rolled in a wheelchair in an airport. Of course, my ego, my pride, my youthfulness, I was freaked out. I didn't want anybody to see me, spry young preacher, pastor, television personality within the Christian circles, riding through an airport in a wheelchair. It was like a sign of weakness to me, and my ego was really deflated. And I'm just being honest with you. That's the way it is, particularly for men. Women get treated all their lives. They're used to doctors of the different gender looking at them and touching them and dealing with them. And from cramps and their early adolescent experiences, men can go for years and never go to a doctor, barely go to a dentist. And when you first go, you feel so vulnerable and so exposed and humiliated, and your pride and all that stuff goes right out the window. And, you lose a lot of that ego that you've had for years. And I did too, and I still do. And it's freeing in a lot of ways and healthy, but I'm just talking about the shifts and the changes in the culture and in aging and in living and how the world is changing and so fast. So when I say trust the process, that means rely on its authenticity and on its integrity. It earned it. Time has proved that time should be respected. The clock and the calendar can prove, disprove, approve, or improve anything. Make it your friend. Make them your friend. Okay? So trust the process as it leads us to progress. Huge change has come and will come, continues to come. Are you ready for it? What is honest truth? And can you handle it? Or should we say, and a lot of people say, I never watch the news. I don't pay the news. No. Yeah, I get depressed. I understand that because sometimes news is usually bad. Most people don't pay that much attention to good news. They like drama and trauma. Looky-loos. That's why traffic slows down when there's an accident. And there may be 100,000 cars going to drive by this accident. Everyone's going to take a 2 or 3 second or 2 or 3 minute gaze at something. Well, those minutes add up, and they're multiplied by tens of thousands, and traffic can be backed up for miles, just because people are interested in the train wreck. They want to see the blood, the injury, the twisted metal, and then they'll go home and watch it again on television. People like action movies, and there's so much blood and guts and gore on television and in the movies, and because if it's too sublime, people just get bored and they won't buy tickets. They won't pay for good news. That's what gospel means. They'll pay for trauma. So in the midst of all the things that I wrote the words, I was thinking today about police officers and preachers and law enforcement agents and agencies and doctors, and there's a lot of malpractice suits out there, hundreds of millions of dollars, and the Catholic Church has spent hundreds of millions protecting priests and hiding things. And my own denomination, the Church of God in Christ, which I was raised, I'm not directly officially associated with it, but I grew up in it. And there's been news about the young man that said, I ain't gay no more. Got caught the next week or two soliciting sex from an undercover male officer. I ain't gay no more. I don't want sex with men. I don't want sex with women. I mean, it was a joke in the first place, but we call that in that tradition deliverance. That the young man was set free. I never believed that he was. I mean, I can sense when somebody, how do you get delivered from your sexuality? That'd be like a straight person saying, a man saying, I don't want women no more. I have no attraction to women. I'm straight and full of the Holy Ghost. I speak in tongues and I don't like women. Not even my own wife. That's how absurd that is. But, everybody was talking about it. That's still a lot of conversation. Some of the religious presuppositions and positioning is an expression of legitimate insanity. It's just like a mental illness. Religion can kind of be a disease, and we've all been infected with it or affected by it, and sometimes defected by it, because we believe, we have faith. And then you got the Bible and preachers who preach it and don't live it, and preach it and don't believe it, and preach it and don't understand it. And we're talking about decades and centuries and millennia of mis or disinformation, wrong information, crazed or crazy interpretations, mythologies, myths, superstitions, fairy tales, information. The information highway exposes a lot. It's all out there today. You can, with the advent and presence of the internet, ignorance is a choice today because there's just too much information out there, and some of it's not actual or factual, but there's enough truth out there that you can get the data to back it up, or you can keep researching. You can spend hours just looking up stuff today. That's the world we live in. So I had to say this. You remember this song that the Jackson 5 made popular? One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, or whatever it is. Let me just read the lyrics to you. One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. Give it one more try before you give up on love. One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you've heard. Do you not care what they say? Or do you not care what you've heard? One bad apple, one or several bad apples. Police officers, priests, preachers, politicians, school teachers, doctors, professionals. One, there's not just one. There are several bad apples. What do we do now? Who do we trust? When do we trust? Why? Let me answer that or respond to that question by saying, first, investigate yourself. Do you trust you? I don't trust none of them. I don't trust the preachers. I don't trust the politicians. I don't even trust God and or religion, because some people can't separate God from religion. They are one and the same thing in many people's thinking. What do you trust? And how do you perceive yourself when you don't trust? I mean, is that a form of insanity too? Is trust or distrust a form of insanity or mental illness? Are you going crazy because you don't trust? Actually, some people trust a pill or drug, a glass of wine or liquor, more than they trust anything else. What I mean is they trust detachment. They're more comfortable not knowing, not identifying, not recognizing, not realizing. They just want to be in between, in a stupor. Shut it all out. You don't call your mother or your father or your sibling. You just block it out of your mind. Well, you can't do that without deadening your senses through some agency. So that's why we have all the substance abuse. Some of it's over-the-counter legal drugs, but you drug yourself. I've been going through this healing process because of surgery, and the kind of surgery is delicate and painful. The recovery is. Now, what does the painkillers do, whether it's hydrocodone or Oxycontin or I can't remember. There's all kinds of stuff because they come in the room and say, well, here's what you can use and here's what we do. There's never a time when all the pain is gone, because pain is part of healing. So part of your healing and part of your sickness is psychic or psyche. Psychosoma, psychosomatic. Greek. Psyche is the mind, soma is the flesh. When you look at needles or tubes or gauze or see a little blood or smell the alcohol or see the hospital garments and the beds and the things that they push you on. I can't even think of the name of it right now. Stretchers. I had an ambulance actually come here to the house one time and take me to emergency because I was having such trauma in my physical body. And I wanted to get right into the ER room and not sit out in the lobby and wait and all that stuff, which it costs more to get in an ambulance and go. But I'd never even imagined doing that. I did that a couple of months ago. And but the whole idea of that affects your psyche. You're laying there on a stretcher or on a table or in a hospital bed, and you feel vulnerable. Somebody comes in constantly and they check your blood and check your blood pressure and give you a shot or draw some blood or give you something or tell you to turn over or switch or do this, and they touch you and you become vulnerable. And one of the first things I heard in the first surgery I had, one of the doctors came in. I think I told you that I was just going out. They had given me some gas and they had shot through the intravenous thing, the anesthesia. So I was kind of slipping out of here pretty quickly into unconsciousness. But the last thing I heard was the doctor came and said, "Okay, who we doing today?" And he was kind of sounded up in his spirit. And they said, "Carlton Pearson." And the last thing I heard before before I went to sleep was, "The Carlton Pearson?" And I was trying to say, "Don't go to sleep." What are they going to say next? I was out. But the term was intimidating to me, that they knew me. And there I'm laying vulnerable to them and what they're going to do to my body. And you're being treated for whatever ails you. Now, I haven't thought of this kind of stuff. And I was on the executive board for the City of Faith Hospital, where I had 2 surgical procedures done. Right over there, it's called the Metroplex down Tulsa. It doesn't have the term City of Faith, but when I will walk right to the hallways or walk to the hallways with my wife and check in and go through admissions and all this stuff, indirectly, I built this place or helped build it. I was a part of the committees. There's 41 members of the Board of Regents. We legally own the university, which owns the hospital. That's what they explained it to us. And we were responsible for raising millions of dollars annually, which we did. But I was on the executive committee, and I went through all the changes and sat with Oral when he lamented over things that seemed discouraging and when he had great faith to believe that it could be put up. And I served on that board for like 15 years, but I was associated with the ministry for 40 years. So a lot of people working there, young people, didn't even know who Oral Roberts was. Literally. I met nurses and orderlies and stuff who didn't even know. And I'm looking at the hallways. I remember walking through it when it was just drywall. I remember seeing it come up out of the earth. I remember the blood, sweat, and tears that we went through to build it. Now Oral Roberts is gone. The structure is there. The largest, it's like 5 football fields of floor space under one roof. No building like it in the country. It's actually about an inch taller than the tallest building in the state. That's what Oral wanted. That was part of his ego. And I kind of liked the idea too. But I was there, and I wanted to actually call him afterward and say, "Hey, sir, the dream is still alive. The place is bustling with people, kind people. It's now called Oklahoma Surgical Hospital." And of course, a lot of the people knew who I was, and that was both ingratiating and intimidating because I'm in a hospital. And I became a regular person, a common sick person who needed surgery. You go through the hallway, go into one of those waiting rooms that was jammed and packed. They took me right through, but I said, "Is this normal?" And the lady said, "This is the way it is every day, 5 days a week." When I went through ER, when I went to the emergency room at St. Francis Hospital here, not far from where we live, they renovated the area, and they've added 80 rooms. They have 80 or 90 little emergency rooms where they bring in the people. And they're full. They were full that night. And they're full every night just about. Sometime during the night, all of the hospital beds in emergency are full. So many sick and or injured people. Gunshots, stab wounds, the helicopter, what they call it, med flight or something like that. They bring them in. You can hear them landing on the roof and bring them in from the surrounding areas. I can drive to the hospital and be there in 5 minutes, or there's 5 other major hospitals in the city and some lesser ones. But many people have to be flown here by helicopter from surrounding areas. It's a whole new world, and I was interested in how it operated, and I became just another participant in life with no distinction. It's not Bishop Carlton in there. In some cases it was, but in a lot of cases it's just another person who needs blood pressure checked, that needs hydration through intravenous hydration or fluids or whatever. There's all kind of stuff happening, and you just kind of flow with it. Don't resist it. Don't resent it. Sometimes don't even analyze it. Just flow. One bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. One bad experience. One bad police officer or 1,000 of them. One bad preacher or one bad teacher or one bad doctor or lawyer or dentist or plumber or electrician or mechanic. Sort through all that stuff. One bad marriage or husband or wife. One bad kid out of 6 or 4 or 2. One or none. You can't judge everything. We cannot, just like you have racial profiling, professional profiling can be just as dangerous. If every time you see a man in uniform, whether that's a police officer or a soldier, you know they can legally kill, and they may have or they might. So do you judge them? Do you do professional profiling every time you see a police officer? That's what's happening in this country. Because there's been so many scandals among preachers. I'm actually not near as proud or eager to tell somebody. In fact, I don't volunteer that I'm Bishop Carlton Pearson. I'm trying to get away from using that terminology as much. I like being called Carlton Pearson back before. Even when I was pastoring. In fact, it's sweeter. The people who know me the closest spiritually call me Pastor Carlton. Not only in this city, but that's how I was known for so many years. That's a little bit more of an intimate term than bishop. Bishop is a respectful term when used by people who respect the term. But it's a title. It's not who I am. It's part of my function on the planet. Same it is with pastor or evangelist or prophet or teacher, or I like to consider my favorite title for myself is sacred humanness. I love humanity. I love the sacredness and elegance and eloquence of human beings being human. And I'm not intimidated by my humanity or my divinity. Your humanity or your divinity. I'm not. So you've probably also heard the expression that the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. This is somebody sent this to me. My friend Joe Moraski. I want to read this response to you. It's beautiful. You've probably also heard the expression that truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Idols as fixed objects of worship bring security. Idols as fixed objects of worship. An idol, the word is icon in Greek. Iconoclastic beings or experiences or personalities, personifications, all of it. Icons, idols. Idols as fixed objects of worship bring security to a lot of people, billions. Your idol could be your job, could be your profession, could be your hairstyle or your wardrobe or the neighborhood or the culture or the race or the nationality or the club membership, some sorority or fraternity. There is a degree of certainty and comfort in what is familiar, and often people don't want to let it go. Please hear this. This is for powerful words that Joe wrote today. Attachment to beliefs, concepts, ideas, and habitual patterns of thinking are much more difficult to change than a pair of diapers. At first, it may actually feel as if we are having something ripped away. Changing neighborhoods or jobs, or even fluctuations in weight, losing hair. I'm growing. You probably can't see it as well on tonight, but I haven't shaved since I came home from surgery. So I'm growing a beard back. This is the first time I've grown the beard since I've had so many gray hairs and silver hair, and it's going to be salt and pepper. I suppose I'll notice it when I speak here in a couple of weeks. I haven't been out to speak, and I only have one more speaking engagement this year, and it's at the All Souls Church here in Tulsa. But a clean-shaven man that's considered a more honest person. Hair on the face, body hair and stuff like that, or facial hairs sometimes seem sinister, make people suspicious. My wife likes it. Gina likes what she's seen so far. Women look at facial hair differently than men. Some people hate it. Some people love it. Some people don't care. Anyway, we make idols, and what you make the issue, you make the idol. Whether that's politics, religion, doctrine, profession, opinion. What you make the issue, you ultimately make the idol. Let me finish Joe Moraski's comment. What we must come to realize is that while that which is eternally real and true is immutable, Forms of truth are ever changing and can be unsettling, especially if we are expecting them to come in a neat, nice little package that appears to agree with everything we already accept as true. Isn't that a great way to say it? Let me just read it again. That which is eternally real. And what is that? Because we are part of eternity, but we haven't been there, and yet we are there. So that's up for speculation, but I understand what he's saying. That which is eternally real and true is immutable. That means unchangeable. Forms of truth, aspects or elements of truth, are ever changing and can be unsettling, especially if we are expecting them to come in a nice, neat little package that appears to agree with everything we already accept as true. Imagine the dismay of the Pharisees in Scripture when what Jesus was proclaiming seemed to go against and uproot every tradition they cherished and held dear. Of course, you know the way the story goes. They ultimately arranged to have him executed. Pharisee, it means separatist. I'm an inclusionist. So Pharisaic entities tend to oppose my posture, my position, my philosophy, my theology, my opinion. Let me finish the story. The other day, he says, I read Michael Dowd, who's a friend of mine. I heard Michael Dowd, who wrote Creation is Real. The other day, I heard Michael Dowd say, hear this very powerful statement, reality is that which when you quit believing in, it doesn't go away. Reality is that which when you quit believing in, it doesn't go away. That is the essence of truth which underlies all form and which is the ground of all being. Brilliant words. If we're going to evolve as a species, he goes on to write, and grow as individuals, we must be willing to let go of, or at least hold loosely, our beliefs, personal preferences, agendas, and beliefs for the greater good of humanity. Now, that's a very bold statement. Let me read it again. If we are going to evolve as a species, special or special entities of all realities, if we're going to evolve as a species and grow as individuals, we must be willing to let go of, or at least hold loosely, our personal preferences. Now, that's a big statement, hard to do. Our personal preferences, let go, or at least hold loosely, our personal preferences, our agendas, and beliefs for the greater good of humanity. Are you willing to do that? Put some things aside that you've held sacredly or even secretly for the larger good. That sounds like compromise, co-promise, that you're promising two realities or committed to two realities, two allegiances. So people say, well, absolutely not. I'm going to hold on to what I know is truth, the principle. Praise God. Our love, Joe writes, for our fellow man must outweigh our need to be right. Our love for our fellow man or person, human being, must outweigh our need to be right. What is that need? We have this need, this lust, this desire, this craving to be right. Sometimes when I'm arguing with my wife or disagreeing with her on something, I have to, and I think Joe Garland, somebody said this one time, do you want to be right or reconciled? You can walk around in your house, your community, your neighborhood, your world, being right and getting along with nobody. Would you rather be right? Are you willing to give? That's what I call forgiveness. Forgiveness is giving up the right to be right. Forgiveness is giving up the right to hurt or hate, not necessarily the reason to hurt or even hate, but the right. You give up the right to be angry. Not the reason. There's all kinds of reasons to be angry or resentful or defensive. But when you forgive, you literally give that right up. Not the reason, but the right to be vindictive or vengeful or judgmental. Well, I ain't judging them. I experience them. I understand that. But you give the right to resent or to judge them based on that experience. You give it up. That's what forgiveness is. One of the ways I like to explain it. Now, let me read this statement. Our love for our fellow human being or man must outweigh our need to be right. That love will certainly never condone anything which would bring harm to another, writes Joe Morawski, but at the same time, it will listen attentively, compassionately, and with the desire to bring restoration, balance, harmony, healing, and wholeness to every situation. I just read that this afternoon, him responding to my post. It was just beautiful. And I love the expansion I'm going through personally and powerfully and intentionally and deliberately and consensually. I am making concession, acquiescent. Acquiescence of a French derivative meaning to quietly submit without protestation, to acquiesce. That means you kind of yield to the process. And you just be quiet about it. You don't make a big deal of it. And then he ends his statement, Joe does, quoting James, the book of James, who's said to be the half-brother of Jesus, and really the biological brother, and they had the same mother, Mary, but supposedly different fathers, because Joseph was James's biological father, and Scripture says in Christian doctrine that God was the father of Jesus. Anyway, the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be followed, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. James 3:17, beautiful passage of Scripture. The wisdom, and I always define the word wisdom, it's Sophia in Greek. It means intelligence or awareness, but I say the wisdom. A person who knows how to do a thing can always have a job, but the person who knows why to do that thing will usually be his boss. Jesus makes a statement in Scripture, I no longer call you my servants or my slaves, because a slave doesn't necessarily know his master's business. Jesus says to his disciples, I call you my friends, not just my followers, partners. You own stock in the human company. You're on the board, and you are aboard. You're not just aboard, you're on the board. You're part of this human entity, this expression. Beautiful. The wisdom that is from above, that is higher awareness, is first pure or authentic, then peaceable or peace-loving, gentle, not abrupt, and easy to be followed or affirmed, full of mercy, that's both empathy and sympathy, and good fruits, producing positive results. Without partiality, exclusion is what that really means, and without hypocrisy, living a lie, living deceptively, living unauthentically. That's hypocrisy. Great passage. Great presentation. I want to bring this to a close. Reconsider all of that. Yes, things are changing, and they're changing fast. Whether you're looking at the Bill Cosby type thing, the government, another preacher falling, even people who are disillusioned by the recent, sudden, tragic, unexpected, almost violent death of Dr. Miles and Ruth Monroe and seven other people on the plane that explodes in the sky, and it's just a traumatic thing. He was buried last week. A lot of people hold grudges against God subconsciously for those kinds of things, and they question the faith. They question or doubt the principle. It's like, what is all this about? There are people in this town still struggling over the fact that a powerful pastor died at 57, Billy Joe Doherty. He was a man of faith. I knew him personally for years. We went to college together. Precious spirit. His lovely wife, Sharon, still carrying on the ministry. Now his son is his official successor in the senior ministry of the church. But we think of these things, especially when somebody goes early or something doesn't go as you wanted it to go. When you lose confidence, I point back towards the television behind me. When you lose confidence in the government, You lose confidence in the governed. You lose confidence in the governors, in the system itself. Not all confidence or confidence. You can become literally an island to yourself. You get scared, you get frustrated, you get suspicious, paranoid. I want to go see this week, if I can, the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings. Christian, I think it's Christian Bale or somebody like that, is in it. And he has called the role he plays, which is Moses, a sadistic, bipolar, ego-driven man. He says he was depressed or manic depressive. And if you look at his character, he and Noah and a lot of people, even Paul, sometimes comes across as a little bit depressed or frightened or mental. Sometimes your preacher can come in on Sunday morning and he's in a crazy mood. He thinks he's anointed and he's just annoyed, and it comes across that way. We're all being stretched to the next level. It's not easy, but it is possible, and it's responsible to grow. You've got to grow. You got to go to your next level. You got to decide what you're going to believe, why you believe it, and how those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of your life. I'm Carlton Pearson. You've been listening to a discussion called Streaming Consciousness, where we stretch and expand your awareness and make you recognize and identify things of which you are aware and of which you aren't aware. I hope you'll listen and rethink and probe. I don't mind you asking questions. Stay on the site and browse around when you can. Come back. There are other archived lectures. And let's stay in touch. If you like what we're saying and you want to support it anyway, financially, I'd welcome it tonight. I know I put my neck on the line, and I get out there, and I say things I wish I could discuss more broadly and hear other people. And that is our plan, to have some interesting panels and discussions. I've been saying that for a while. I'm recovering health. I'm regaining consciousness. I'm getting a better, stronger hold on what I believe and why I believe it. And I hope you are too. And I feel pretty good about the future. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not intimidated by it. I'm not threatened by it, because I'm going to create it. You join me? You're on your way to enlightenment. I want to meet you there in consciousness. Stand with us, stick with us, stay with us. The best is yet and next to come. Go to that little donate button and do something tonight, okay? That whether that's $10 or $1,000 or $100, end of the year giving, you want to do that, include New Dimensions into it. Tax-free giving. We love you, believe in you. Thank you for your consciousness. Thank you for your time. God bless you. God be you. Good night.